Hi everyone, I'm Sean Dukes from Learnsmarter, and today I want to show you this really cool Lightning style progress bar that we built using a declarative formula. It's based on an idea I got watching a talk from someone called Nathaniel Sombu. He's actually speaking at Dreamforce this year. Thanks Nathaniel for the idea. It's really cool, and this is what we've done with it. Let's go and have a closer look, shall we? So here is that Lightning progress bar in a dashboard. Let's just zoom in a little bit closer. And you can see in this case, we've got different levels of program completion showing different percentages, which looks pretty cool. So how do you build that? What you do essentially is take that original shape and then you cut it up a little bit. So we take the right-hand edge off. In fact, what we're going to do is cut it into 5 different images like that. And the middle one, it doesn't actually matter how wide that middle image is. We need a set of 5 blue images and we need a set of 5 grey images, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use this thing called an image formula, which is quite cool. This is a text formula, by the way. So use this image formula and need the URL of the image. So those 10 images we need to access from somewhere. So we actually upload them to Google Cloud and hold them in a publicly available folder. So you can just access them. It works brilliantly. You could also store them in Salesforce. So you have a URL of your image. Then you have an alt text. So that's what appears if the image, for whatever reason, doesn't. Would be no use in this progress bar, to be honest. And then you have a height and a width. So that's all good. What you do actually is you stitch these images together one by one. So you take the left-hand image and the next left-hand image and the middle image or images and then the right hand and the right hand. So that's the basic formula. And all we have to do is work out what needs to go where by performing a series of calculations. So when we do these calculations, we want to be as efficient as we can, which do as few calculation operations as we can. So the first thing we're using is a case statement. So with a case statement, you do your calculation, and then if the result of that calculation matches criteria number 1, then you have the first outcome, matches criteria number 2, you have the second outcome, and so on, and then at the end, you have everything else. So the actual calculation we use is this one here, where we do a count of the number of records observed over the maximum number of records. So we divide one by the other, that's going to come up with a number between 0 and 1. And then if it's criteria 1, we have outcome 1, and 2 and 2, and so on and so on. So the first thing we're looking for is 0. So if it's 0, then we know what's going to happen. Everything is going to be grey. Similarly, if it's 1, so they've got everything or 100%, then everything is going to be blue. Now, for everything else, what we know for certain is that it's not one and it's not the other. So it's going to have something and it's not going to have everything. So we make the left-hand edge blue and the right-hand edge grey. Now what we have to do is work out what goes in the middle. So to do that, we use now a series of if statements. We try to use as few as possible. So we're testing with an if statement. You test for a condition. If it's true, you have a result. If it's false, you have a result. So in this case, what we do is we test now that count again over the maximum and see if it's more than 3%. And if it is, then we're going to do another if statement, which is where the something else comes in. Otherwise, the rest is going to be grey. Because the way this formula works, that's going to come at the end. You'll see that in the end. So let's have a look at that something else. So now we know that it's more than 3%. So we're going to fill in that left-hand next bit because we know it's always going to be more than 3%. You'll notice it's very approximate, this. But to the user, these are pretty small, and so we don't have to be precise. You could get a bit more finicky, but to be honest, I think this works perfectly well, and it gives the impression that we want to achieve. So this is something else. We know that that blue one's going to be filled, so what else is going to happen? So now we need another if statement, so we're having a nested if statement inside there. And the next thing we test for to say, is it more than 95%, right? So if it's more than 95%, then what we're going to do is we're going to show everything else as blue. It doesn't matter whether it's 95, 96, 99, it's going to be the same. To be honest, as I say, it's quite small, it doesn't really matter, it's an approximation in our case. So that's what happens if it's that, and otherwise it's going to be something else. Now, if it is something else, then both of the right-hand bits are going to be grey now, and both of the left-hand things are going to be blue, and you can see all we've got to do is fill in that flat bit in the middle. So we now do 2 tests here, so our final calculation, if it's more than 5%, then it's going to be a mix, otherwise the rest is going to be grey. So that mix is the interesting bit. So here's the mix. So what we do is we take the middle blue image, and we make it the width of it, so the height of it is 10, the width of it is the count over the max again, multiplied by 100, so you get a percentage, take away 5, because that blue bit on the left essentially represents 5. And so we do that and then build our image, and it's going to fit in there like that. And then we do exactly the same for the grey image. The formula is a little bit different, so we want to do 95% less this, because essentially on the right hand edge we already have 5%, so we're only looking in to fill in the other bit. So we take that away from 95, and that gives us the other bit, and there we are. That's our formula. Pretty cool. All that's left to do is those other couple of use cases where the max is not more than 0.5, so the rest is grey, okay? And then finally the one where the max isn't greater than 0.3, so this is one where it's less than 0.3, and again here the rest is grey. So there are things. So that's how a progress bar works, and as I say, it's going to look pretty cool. This is the actual formula. As you can see, it does look pretty complex, but hopefully I've broken it down for you, and if you understand what I've showed you, you'll be able to see this formula, and actually it's a lot more simple than it appears to the initial view. It's doing some really, really simple things. And then you have your cool declarative formula. So once you have that formula, you can use it wherever you like within Lightning. So this is a Lightning page, and you can just put that in with the page layout. You can see we've got it in a related list there, and we've dragged it into the related list. You can put it in a report like this, and of course you can put it into your dashboard. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it made sense. Sean Dukes from Learnsmarter. Hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.